Hi. So today I thought we'd go through the mixed media sketchbooks that I've been working through. As you can probably tell, they're not really in a sketchbook anymore. I've been cutting them out in order to scan them in for the art book that I'm working on. And also made it easier to filter out some of the things that YouTube might disagree with. Not that anything I've done is particularly lewd. I'm trying to find the right word so things don't get struck, because the censors are out in full force these days, aren't they, unfortunately. So anyway, this is just a brief look at the, let's call it the best bits of the two sketchbooks that I've been working through. Now, the initial idea behind these wasn't to necessarily create figures or portraits. It was more to express and try different materials and really step out of the comfort zone that I was in by using just pen and ink. Originally, I wanted them to become more abstract, more freeform, more about shapes and colour and texture than they actually became. And that's more to do with the fact that these are more akin to stepping stones. And yeah, I feel like there's certainly part of me that's struggling to let go with some of these. I always have to have a person or, something that is more akin to the real world in these. Something recognisable, usually a face. But hopefully over time, because it's something I'm going to keep trying at, and like I say, over time, hopefully that will become less the case, and it'll be more about colour and feel and those sorts of things, and just expression, playfulness. But the flip side of that is that I do want to combine some of that with the line art that I've been doing. So it's the idea of balance is quite important to me, as are the ideas of tension and release. So this is very much a release, let's say, but not much discipline, not much tension. And again, it's also very chaotic, and I'd like to put in some more disciplined things. So yeah, if you can hear a little dog barking, it's the next door neighbour. Or it's not, he's not the dog, but it's his dog. And when he goes out, so I'm recording this on a Thursday, a bit of a tangent. I'm recording this on a Thursday, and every Thursday this old man, my next door neighbour, he goes out to do his shop for the week, I think. I mean, I don't really know. So I'm stuck with a little dog barking all day. And I feel really bad, I'd go look after the dog. But yeah, so if you can hear a little dog, unfortunately, welcome to my life, basically. So anyway, yeah, and layering is something else that seems to happen more and more with these. So maybe you can see that there's a face, and then I've tried to cover up that face, and then, added something else over the top of it. And this is very much the same. I was working at these pages until I did something that I connected to in a way. This is one of the earlier ones, and I was using cardboard, so just ripping off a bit of cardboard from like delivery or, just packaging, and dipping it in ink, and then creating these long sweeps, these long blocks. I was using sticks for some of these marks, and I was using the odd brush. I even used a pencil on a couple of these. And it was just a way to explore, a way to find different ways of coming up with ideas, or just well, it's expression. Most of what I do is not so much about having ideas, it's just about being expressive. So this is one of those ink, I don't know if they are called ink blotches, but just throwing down some water and then dipping some ink in different places and seeing what came out, and then again with the cardboard dipped in ink, just add in some extra colour. This was very abstract at the beginning, and again with the ink and the water, and then everything always ends up having a face, doesn't it, or a figure. And like I say, that's me still with the training wheels on, I think, and it's not so much that I see faces in everything, but faces are my comfort zone. So this is a way to explore, but also have some relative comfort, I suppose. And again, it's not so much about having ideas, it's just throwing things down, throwing down some ink, and then wiping it off with some, some like tissue paper or whatever, or a cloth, and just getting messy, I suppose. And then trying to find a way to maybe bring it back to something that could be considered a composition. But again, it's not really the goal. So a lot of these do have themes, I suppose. It was very much a subconscious thing. And just thinking of life, thinking of people, thinking of, ideas of mortality, ideas of lust, ideas of, lots of things. Torment, very human things that have to be expressed. And that's my biggest thing when it comes to art. It's not necessarily that the result is something to be proud of. It's the doing it. It's the expression. It's the releasing the pressure valve. And this one was particularly, I've had a rough couple of weeks. Nothing terrible's happened, but it's just been a very uncertain time. And, not only like internally, but also everything that's going on with the world. It all seems very chaotic and tragic and uneasy, and, I don't want to get too political. But yeah, this is a way to express some of those feelings, I suppose. And occasionally it makes me feel better. Sometimes it doesn't do anything, but it's better to release those things and not police those things, which unfortunately seems to be something that is happening. So if anyone is frustrated with the world, don't come to creativity in order to create something good. Come to creativity in order to find some peace, I suppose. So yeah, again, they're all very much the same thing. It's when I first started the sketchbook, it was very much I've got all these materials, the cardboards, all these dip inks. I had some marker pens, which I don't think were used in any of these, but there's certainly some that are. Random little brushes, all the things that I wouldn't normally use, basically. But I ended up, instead of just focusing on one, I ended up just throwing everything at every page. But in terms of getting random textures, like I say, the cardboard, ripped cardboard was great, or just dipping in some paper, some ripped paper. I've used sponges in the past. I didn't use them for any of these. This was an old brush. It's this sort of thing, still marked, which I don't think is supposed to be used that way, but I don't know how to use anything, to be honest. And again, well, themes of nature. I think I've said in the last thing that seems to be coming in a lot more. This feels very much like a technological thing. But again, I don't have ideas. This is just what comes out. Heart. So I've started to throw hearts into things a lot more. It seems to be that most artists have some sort of moniker. I've seen the crown come up quite a lot. A lot of the like Kim Jong-il style artists throw little crowns in there. I don't really know the meaning behind any of that. I'm guessing there is one. I'm not someone who looks very deeply into things. I don't fall down rabbit holes. I really admire people that do, but I just like to draw, you know. But anyway, so I it's not so much that I wanted to create my own little signature, but hearts tend to flow in quite often. Again, well, yeah. And again, I didn't necessarily invent the heart symbol or anything like that, but symbols are something that interests me more and more, and it's a way to have some meaning in there that everyone understands. It's a universal thing, isn't it, these sorts of symbols. So I think this was the first one, because they're all jumbled up now, I've cut them up, but this was one of the first ones I was really happy with, and I got really messy. This was mostly done with that cardboard method, so piece of cardboard roughly like that, and then twist it and do things with it. And then this has got some white marker pen on there, just trying to bring some form, because I just can't help myself, I suppose. Do things that end up as faces. And again, just more of the same, slightly more masculine presence in this one. That's something that I want to try and focus on a little bit more. I do tend to draw more feminine people, and I get a lot of comfort from that, from femininity, but I struggle with masculinity, and I suppose, I need to focus on that. I need to realise why that is. I mean, I know there's many reasons why that is, but it's something that I maybe need to focus on a little bit more with my art and creativity, and look into a little bit more. This one feels very Ashley Wood. Now, anyone that's talked to me or asks me about inspirations, I don't have many, especially up until I was in my sort of mid-30s, where I wanted to really work at drawing. But Ashley Wood is someone that I really admired in my teenage, as a teenager. And there's not many artists that I can really say that about. And this feels very Ashley Wood. I mean, it doesn't look exactly like, but it's, I think that I was definitely wearing some inspiration on my sleeve there. And again, ideas of the subconscious. There's definitely a bit of that in there. There's definitely a little bit of sexuality in there. It's holding up a mirror, I suppose, which is a bit strange to admit, but yeah. You've got to be uncomfortable every once in a while, haven't you? Yeah, this was just, this is a little bit less freeform, I suppose. This is more me realising that, I can wet a bit, add some ink, and then make something that's a lot more clear. And again, I'd see red lips as being a symbol. I see, skulls as a symbol. So again, it feels more like a fashion illustration to me in a way. It's definitely a little bit more abstract than some of those, because I love fashion illustration as well. Although I wouldn't know any artists to necessarily recommend. It's more just like a passing glance. It's like, I like things like that. Maybe I should get a brush pen. Maybe I should add more colour and randomness to things. Anyway, this whole idea with the speech bubble with the words on the floor, I've been doing that since I was a teenager, and for whatever reason it came back out again. I think it was a lot of randomness, and then I had this space, so it was just the first thing that came to me. And someone mentioned that it's in one of the Persona games as well, which is interesting. I've not played any of them, but they are on my list. This ever-growing list of things that I should play, watch, listen to. Anyway, so again, another skeleton. Didn't necessarily start out that way, just made some random shapes. Again, I could see, maybe it's that I just do a lot of figure work and a lot of portraits, that just seems to be where those motor skills aim towards. But yeah, this is then with adding some marker pen, some permanent marker. Got a few different sizes. This is another thing that was relatively laboured, just kept adding things. Playing around more with shapes, keeping certain aspects simple. This is very much a tortured piece. I don't know whether I was feeling particularly tortured at the time, but I do let those things out quite easily. I think out of anything, I do tend to lean towards dark, strange, surreal imagery in what I do. And it is a way to, again, express and not have those feelings be suppressed. And I heard, I can't remember where the quote was from, but apparently horror directors are usually the nicest people. And for whatever reason, I don't know when I heard it, but I must have been a teenager, let's say. And that always stuck with me, and I feel like I can relate to that in a way, or I want to aim towards that, let's say. It's not necessarily that I think that I'm a nice person, but, you know, there is something to be said about people who are comfortable and in tune with that side of themselves. That does seem quite alluring to me, and it's something that I try to work on myself. So yeah, let the darkness in, then let it out. Move on. Again, this is another one. This did have quite a saucy, spicy sort of thing underneath it. And then a case of covering it up. And again, I like that idea of layering, of having, again, I talk about subconscious ideas quite often. And I like the idea of these pieces having that layering, that sort of, there's something underneath, there's something bubbling underneath. And then it's masked, you know, because we all do that, whether we know it or not. So I think this is probably the closest thing to what I imagined this sketchbook would be, which is more about random shapes, more about playing with colour. And again, I'm not necessarily upset that that isn't the way that it came. It's something that I need to work at. And again, it's something that I hope to combine with more dedicated studies / the usual things that I do that are quite clean, they are quite accurate, for want of a better word, simple. So to have something that's more manic next to that simplicity is something that I'm aiming towards. So again, I remember this one being something that I was quite happy with for whatever reason. And then, you know, this feels like a reaction to the censorship and, yeah, well, I won't dwell too much on that because I don't want to make these things too political. But anyway, I'm going to be recording a video after this, so you unfortunately stuck with me for a couple more weeks. I did miss last week because I've just been so busy seeing family and friends, and it's mostly been a nice thing. I certainly had a little breakdown somewhere in between all those nice little adventures that I've had. But anyway, all's good, and yeah, there'll be another video next week. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.